Hey everybody, this is Dan Martinez and Joey Menta, and this is the first episode of our roommate debate podcast, talking about everything from the NFL to the NBA to the MLB and a little bit of college on the way. So I think we'll just get right into it. Um, so the NFL draft happened around a month ago. A lot of crazy things happened throughout it. People drafted that no one really expected to be drafted at those spots. And a couple of teams taking some big risks, whether they're local teams or somewhere in Green Bay. But I think we should just start with the draft overview. So who do you think had the best draft? Because I have a
Yeah,
feeling we might have different ideas on that.
we might. Just before I start saying anything, I just wanted to let everyone know I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan and all Philadelphia fan, and Dan is a Boston fan, and
Yes.
we don't like him. Um, we don't like Boston, but yeah, I'm all Eagles and Phillies and 76ers. So might be some bias towards there, but so going over the draft, a lot of good picks by a lot of teams. It hurts me to say this, but I really think the Dallas Cowboys had an excellent draft.
I definitely agree.
Yeah, they really snubbed us with wide receiver CeeDee Lamb um, from Oklahoma, and I think he's gonna be very good, and I think that's a big upgrade for them, even though they have a very good offense. Um, I think that was a great pick by them. I also think Trevon Diggs from Alabama. He was a pretty good cornerback this past season, and they needed cornerbacks for
Yeah, they
sure.
lost Byron Jones before the
Yep,
draft, so
they
definitely
lost
needed to
Byron
shore up there.
Jones. I really thought they were going to take a corner with their first, but they got CeeDee Lamb, and CeeDee Lamb was tremendous in Oklahoma with Jalen Hurts. So I think they had a very good draft. Another team I think that had a very good draft is the Baltimore Ravens too.
hmm
I think they got a sick linebacker from LSU, Patrick Queen, who he's a beast. And I also really like the J.K. Dobbins pick, the running back
Definitely.
from Ohio State. I think that backfield in Baltimore with Ingram and Dobbins behind that offensive line is something that we should really watch out for, because those two could be really good behind that O line. So I think the Ravens and the Cowboys had the best draft. It's
Definitely.
hard to say who, but what do you think?
I mean, I'm going a completely different route. I think somebody who most people have ranked around the fifth or sixth best draft, but I look at it as they drafted perfectly for their division, the Denver Broncos. You look at the team they had, won their last 4 out of 5 games with Drew Lock at quarterback. I am a huge Drew Lock supporter. I absolutely love him as a quarterback. Um, he is ridiculously talented. He's got an absolute cannon for an arm. Um, and to suit that in a division with Patrick Mahomes and the Chargers defense and the Raiders West Coast offense, they went they absolutely advanced that offense to one of the best in the league in my eyes. They
Yeah,
got Jerry
yeah,
Jeudy in the first round.
he's the best
Uh,
wide receiver.
who I thought was the best wide receiver in the draft.
Yeah,
I love CeeDee Lamb. I think he's going to be a great player. I'm not a big fan of the Cowboys, but I do think that CeeDee Lamb's going to have a great career. But I think Jerry Jeudy is going to thrive in Denver. He's the perfect complement to a big, strong receiver like Cortland Sutton. Um,
yeah.
Sutton's the big possession target that they're going to throw to in the end zone, and Judy's just going to collect short catches that he's going to turn into extra yards.
hmm
And they got another great receiver with KJ Hamler with their second pick, who out of Penn State. I mean, I'm an Ohio State fan, but I've always liked Penn State too because I've grown up in PA. Same thing with me being a New England fan, but I do like the Philly sports teams because I've grown up here.
hmm
And Hamler's just ridiculously fast. He's not big, but he makes catches when he needs to. And the big thing is he gets the yards after catch that they're going to need. So they have one of the best offenses in the league, and I honestly do think they will rival the Chiefs and the Ravens for best offense because their running backs, Gordon, Lindsey, Freeman, great group. And then tight ends, they have Albert O, who they just drafted, who's one of the most athletic tight ends from this year's draft. And they have Noah Fant, who was a top 10 pick last year, who I really, really love. I mean, that's just a great group to go with Drew Lock and the best possible group he could have to let him thrive.
So I think the Denver Broncos had a great with Jerry Jeudy had a great draft. And I do think the AFC is it's weak. With the Patriots now, like I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, and the Texans, I think they're going to suck without DeAndre Hopkins and really not getting anything in return. Like, and with those two teams kind of like taking a step down and the Broncos taking a step up, I really think they could get in as a 6th or 7th seed in the playoffs this year. But you said the Broncos having one of the best offenses in the league. Where would you rank them among best offenses? Because they're very young, and we don't know how good they really can be.
I think that's the biggest issue is Locke only got, 6 starts last year.
Yeah.
He looked pretty good. I think he had like 1,200 yards and like 10 touchdowns, 7 touchdowns, something like that. So he was good. But that was with only Sutton, Deshaun Hamilton, Phillip Lindsay, and a little bit of a weaker offensive line. They got Lloyd Cushenberry this year to add to that offensive line in the early 3rd round, I believe. And so that's something where they put the draft capital onto him. He's going to play, whether it's right away or it's as a plug-and-play piece later on. He's going to play, and he's got the talent to help them. I mean, their receiver group is hard to dismiss. I mean, Cortland Sutton is a top wide receiver in the league now. I mean, you look at last season, he was put up against the best cornerbacks, and that was the knock on him, is they didn't know if he could beat them. And he had a 1,000-yard season. He had multiple touchdowns. He looked great. And that was with crappy quarterback play for most of the year, quite honestly. And then Drew Lock came in, and their chemistry kind of showed pretty quickly. You don't really see that with a rookie quarterback and a 2nd-year, 3rd-year wide receiver that quickly, which is why I kind of trust that Jeudy and Hamler will kind of just slide in perfectly. They're perfect for that scheme. You have Cortland Sutton as the big guy. You have Hamler as the fast guy. And you got Jeudy as the underneath slot type of guy. As far as ranking, it's going to depend on how they meld. It really is. I mean, if Locke can't get on the same page with Jeudy and Hamler as much as he did with Fant and Sutton, it's not going to look great. I mean, they're still going to put up points. They'll still be top 15 offense. They're not going to be a bottom dwelling offense, that's for sure, with Gordon added on. But I mean, of course, you put the Chiefs and the Ravens ahead of them. I have a hard time putting a lot of other teams. I mean, the Cowboys I'd probably put ahead of them for sure.
I think they're going to be a good young team, but they don't have one of the best offenses in the league just yet. You got the Bucks, you got the Saints, you got the Cowboys, you got the Chiefs, you got the Ravens, you got the Browns. The Browns have a nice offense, even though they haven't meshed well together. They had the worst coach in the NFL by far. Their offense is nice. If OBJ can come back, if Baker can come back, Nick Chubb's incredible behind that O-line.
I completely agree.
Jarvis was solid last year. Njoku, we haven't seen much of him yet. He's young, but
he's also very raw. He kind of came out of college as just an athlete more than anything. With the size of a tight end, he didn't really show a ton of ability before he got hurt.
The Bills are better than the Broncos.
I completely agree that these teams could be. I'm just looking at, I mean, you look position by position. I think their only weakness at a position would be Drew Lock at quarterback, and he's not really a weakness. He's just like, in his division, he might be the 3rd or 4th best quarterback. But you look at the AFC West, I mean, Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league right now. And then Justin Herbert could be as good as Locke, could be better. I think he'll probably be a little bit better than Locke. He doesn't have as much around him. He does have Keenan Allen and Mike Williams and Eckler to throw to. So we'll see how that turns out. But, I mean, I have a hard time throwing the Buccaneers right there. I do think they're going to be amazing. Huge Tom Brady fan, obviously being a Patriots fan, but you don't really know how the chemistry is going to work. Brady has always been in Bill Belichick's offense. I think he can survive without Belichick, and I do think Belichick will thrive without him as well. but I have a hard time putting anyone for sure above them other than the Chiefs, Ravens, and Cowboys. Because I do think, and the Bills I would put ahead of them. But other than that, I have a
Saints.
hard time settling for sure on the Broncos not being better than them because the rest of them are just as fickle, I guess, as the rest of them. I mean, you look at the Bucks; they haven't played together yet. Um, you look at, I mean, you look at anybody else in the league. You look at the Eagles. You don't really know how this is going to work with Jalen Reagor. You don't really know how this is going to work with John Hightower and Quez Watkins coming in and trying to reinvigorate that offense. Plus, they're trying to do with Jalen Hurts what the Saints are doing with Taysom Hill. And the Saints haven't had a number 2 wide receiver for a while, so you never know how they're going to be like that. The last time they had a legit number 2 was when Ted Ginn was younger.
Yeah.
And since then, I mean, who's it been? I mean, Traquan Smith isn't exactly a great number 2, but they have Emmanuel Sanders now, so we'll see how that goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I agree.
All right, so who do you think has the worst draft from this year? I think we both have one team in mind that we'll agree on, with the Green Bay Packers. I think
Yeah. No.
their draft was, I mean, no one really knows what they were doing this year. It doesn't make any sense.
There's no other explanation for who had the worst draft in this year. It was the Green Bay Packers. I mean,
Exactly.
God, they passed on what, like 20 wide receivers, something like that.
Yeah,
And
37, I think it was.
something like that.
Yeah.
They've passed on in numerous wide receivers, and that's what they needed for Aaron Rodgers. He has
Yeah.
Devontae Adams, who is great, but after that, it is nothing. He's got Aaron Jones, which is great, but that is not enough for Aaron Rodgers right now.
No, it's not. I completely agree.
And
I mean,
they
Aaron Rodgers
they
is
had the
not
first
the
round.
same guy. He just
They-
isn't. He didn't look the same way last year. They lean heavily on the run game. I don't like A.J. Dillon as a running back. I just don't.
Okay.
He's huge, so he runs well for a big guy, but he can't cut. He doesn't really look like he sees the holes well. And I mean, I like Aaron Jones for the meantime, but they needed to get. I mean, if they were going to draft a quarterback at 26, they easily could have drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They easily could have drafted DeAndre Swift, J.K. Dobbins, somebody to fill that hole at running back to make it even better if they're going to lean so heavily on the run game. But they went with a quarterback,
No,
with
they
a starting quarterback on their team that, I mean, was one of the best in the league. I don't think he's a top 5 anymore just because he's slowly kind of broken down. Last year wasn't great. They didn't get him enough help to make me certain that he's going to be a top 5 again because he's got Devontae Adams, and that's it. I mean, I'm not scared of Valdez-Scantling. I'm not scared of Aaron Jones, really. I'm definitely not scared of Jamal Williams. And their offensive line isn't anything to really be terrified of to have them running behind. So I think last year's 12-4 was a bit of a fluke. I think they got away with a lot. I think they'll maybe win 9 or 10 games this year. I think that's where I have them. I mean, their division got weaker, but I just don't believe too heavily in them.
Their defense is very good too, which kind of helped Rodgers out.
Definitely.
Look, I like Rodgers a lot. He's still what was he? 26 touchdowns, 4 picks, and
Yeah, around there.
down year. I mean, that's a down year for Aaron Rodgers, but it would take a lot for most QBs in the league to do that. I still have him like around number 5 or 6 for quarterbacks. I think with the poor draft, it might make him like eager to play better because they took Jordan. Like I still think Rodgers has at least 2 or 3 years, not 1.
No, I completely agree. 2-3 years, I think, and then Rodgers is either retiring or he's leaving. I don't see him ending a full career with the Packers. Like I don't see this ending well. He's never been a leader in most people's eyes. He's got a kind of hard personality to work with. I mean, Mike McCarthy would still be there if Rodgers wasn't so hard to work with. He pushed him out. I mean,
Sucks.
he's not the greatest coach, but he won games. He won a Super Bowl. He did what he could. I think he'll be a perfect fit in the Cowboys organization because I think Jerry Jones can kind of pull his strings a little bit, which will be nice for him because he couldn't really do that with Garrett as much. He still pulled his strings. That's what Jerry Jones is going to do. he needs to have full control over that organization for him to be happy. But I mean, drafting Jordan Love is either going to make Rodgers pissed off to the point where he plays better, or pissed off to the point where he demands a trade and plays horrible. I mean, they didn't get him any help, so he's already had a bad habit of forcing it down the field to Devontae Adams, even when he's not open, which has never ended well for him. It just hasn't. He doesn't have the same arm as he used to have. And Jordan Love, I mean, if you're going to draft a guy who's a prototypical Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers type quarterback, they found it. I mean, he's got a cannon for an arm. He makes some kind of weird decisions throwing it downfield where he kind of goes, I have a strong arm, let me just force it. But in this draft of the quarterbacks, I had him fourth, and I had him very, very close to Justin Herbert in talent. I mean, I think it was Burrow and Tua in their own little tier. And then I think it was Herbert and Love together. And then I think it was a lot of separation between them and Eason, just because Eason makes a lot of mistakes. But other than that, I mean, Love could take the job from him in a year. I wouldn't be surprised. He's extremely talented. If he can learn how to move his turnovers down from Rodgers, he could take his job with ease, and they'll just force Rodgers out and use the cheaper option to win games.
Totally. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. All right. So next thing, how do you think, as an Eagles fan, how do you think the Eagles did?
Overall, not very. Yeah. Okay. Not very great overall. As an Eagles fan. First pick, Jalen Reagor. I think he could be good. I think he could fit well. He's fast. And he had like 1,000 receiving yards. I think it was not last year, but the year before with TCU, which is a pretty bad team. So I don't hate that pick. I think it was a solid pick. And then it fell apart with Jalen Hurts. Bad pick. It's kind of like Jordan Love, except we have Carson Wentz, who's a lot younger and very talented. And Carson Wentz is an all-world talent when he stays healthy, I think. I just don't like the pick there with Jalen Hurts. I think Doug Peterson's going to start using him like Taysom Hill. Just didn't need him. Plain out, didn't need him.
I completely agree.
And then we got a linebacker from Colorado, Davon Taylor. Don't know much about him, but we'll see. And I do like the Kayvon Wallace pick, safety from Clemson. I think he'll be pretty good. He was pretty good at Clemson, and we lost Malcolm Jenkins, sadly, who is incredible for us, and that's going to hurt. So that's what I think. And so if we're going I'm just going to tell you this right now. Patriots, bad draft. I don't know what they were doing. I think, at least, I don't think they had a great draft. I really think I think they had a bad draft.
I'll be honest with you. When I looked, I mean, I'll give my take on the Eagles draft before I get into the Patriots because I have a lot of thoughts on the Pats draft. The Eagles, I think, started out okay. I was fine with the Reagor pick. I do like the Eagles, so I want to see them win. The only time I don't want to see them win is when they play the Patriots. That's really how it is for me. But with Justin Jefferson sitting there, I had a really hard time with them sitting pat and taking Reagor when they easily could have taken Jefferson, who played better competition, who performed at a better rate, who scored a bunch of touchdowns in the playoffs and the late games of the season when they played all the great teams. I mean, he would basically have slotted in right away as an Alshon Jeffrey replacement, and that would have been perfect. Reagor, on the other hand, he reminds me of a bigger Deshaun Jackson almost. He'll be good, but when they had Deshaun Jackson, if I remember correctly, he wasn't really the number one. It was Macklin, right? Originally, right? Yeah, so he kind of needs, if he's the same type of player as I'm thinking he is, he needs that guy to kind of offset him. And I mean, maybe that's Arcega-Whiteside. Maybe. I think he's very talented. He's got a basketball background, so he's got the jump to kind of sit in the end zone and just jump over safeties and corners. But, I mean, with Jefferson sitting there, I would have liked the Jefferson Arcega-Whiteside pick better.
Mhm.
just because I feel like that pair kind of plays off each other a little bit better. But who knows? I mean, I might be wrong, and Rager might be amazing. He seems to be pretty fired up about being an Eagle, and he seems to be pretty excited to play. So we'll see how that goes. And the Hurts pick, it seems like they think he's a more upgraded Taysom Hill, except I would say Taysom Hill might be a better thrower than Jalen Hurts, and is the same kind of athlete. I mean, Hurts is a great athlete. I'm not going to knock that. He's an unbelievable athlete. He really is. But he reminds me of like a Walmart Lamar Jackson. He's not the thrower Lamar Jackson is. He's not quite the athlete Lamar Jackson is. He doesn't have the same moves. He makes more mistakes. Like, he didn't play in any conference that really says harder than the ACC. I mean, the ACC is not much to be happy about in college football if you're not playing at
It's awful.
or Florida State. That's basically it.
Yeah.
But he still played at Louisville. He won the Heisman twice. Hurts. I have a hard time saying he's going to be great. I just do. He's blocked by Wentz, too. I mean, if he had gone to a system that's as creative as the Saints are, then I'd be fine with it. But I haven't seen the same creativity in the Eagles offense as I have with the Saints, and that's where I worry. And then moving on to the Patriots.
Yeah, I want to say one thing before you start about the Patriots. I know they didn't have a pick in the first round, right?
Yes.
They took a safety with their first pick. Why? They have two great safeties. They have a great defense. I know they lost some guys like Kyle Van Noy, but they get me wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. They still have the McCourty twins.
Yes, they do. But the McCourty twins are also 32, I believe. And Jason doesn't play safety. He plays corner. Devin plays safety. But, I mean, I think the thinking really was Kyle Duggar is a freakish athlete. He really is. I think he's 6'1", 220 something, if I remember right. He's a big guy. He's really fast. I think he ran like a 4.37 or something. He's a blazer out there on the defense. And the big thing is he hits hard. He really does. And I think Belichick, when he looked at this draft, he went 3 straight defensive players to start it. All of them can play multiple positions. They're all ridiculous athletes. They all played their best against the best teams they played. Now, Duggar played Division II football. That's fine with me because if he was a middle-of-the-line Division II player, that's a great athlete, I'd have a problem with it.
I don't know why.
His coaches said he was the best defensive player they'd seen in Division II by far, and that's where I get excited because they compared him to multiple different players in the NFL that make me very excited. They compared him to Malcolm Jenkins because he can play multiple positions. They compared him to a Devin McCourty because he's got the instincts of some of the best football players they've seen. So I liked the pick when I read into it, but at first I was so confused as to why we traded out of the first round to get a safety from a Division II school.
I think you guys went too heavy on defense. You guys could have not played a snap on offense and start off, 4-4? Your defense was incredible to start the season. It's what got you guys to 8-0. Your defense was incredible.
We lose Kyle Van Noy, Jamie Collins. So that hurts. Obviously, our secondary is going to be fine.
Your offense is weak. You had less weapons. You had less weapons than Carson Wentz, and that's hard to do.
Yes, but where I look at it like this is we didn't have a tight end. We had the worst tight ends in the league last year. We had Matt LaCosse and Ryan Izzo. We addressed that. We got Devin Asiasi and Dalton Keene in back-to-back picks. They are both extremely talented tight ends. They weren't the highest-ranked tight ends, but it's because they're a little bit more raw. Dalton played at Virginia Tech. Devin Asiasi played at UCLA. And when I looked at their tape, I mean, Asiasi is a freak athlete. He's a little bit smaller than most tight ends. He's 6'3", 260, so he's got the bulk. He just doesn't have the height. But, I mean, there's video of him just completely hurdling one of the players on the field in a UCLA game, which he's playing good talent. He's playing Pac-12 teams. They're not bad. They're a lot of NFL talent that he's playing on defense. And he made them look kind of crappy, and he had terrible quarterback play. He really did. His quarterbacks were not good. The last good one he had was Josh Rosen, who had a subpar season because, if I remember correctly, his coach was Chip Kelly. Not the best thing to have. No. Since he left Oregon, he's been a disgrace to coaching. He really has. Um, and I think the offense, if Stidham is as good as a lot of scouts are saying, they had him as a first-round grade when he was drafted. He fell to the fourth round because the guys who teams needed guys, they drafted him already. It's the
Yeah.
same thing with Jake Fromm. Fromm had like a second or third round grade. He went to the fifth because nobody really needed to draft that high. I like Stidham. I do. He got a year to learn under Brady. People are making jokes about the pick six that he threw as his one pass in the league. Brady didn't start a game his rookie year. He didn't look that great. He came in and is now the greatest quarterback of all time. I mean, you never know. I'm not saying Stidham's going to be the greatest quarterback of all time, but I am saying I'm going to give him time. He has Edelman. We signed his favorite receiver from college in Will Hastings, which I'm excited about. He's basically a baby Edelman. He's a little bit smaller, but he plays the exact same way, and I think learning under Edelman and bulking up through Edelman's workout program is going to help him, and he's going to be great. And I like our receiving group. I know it's not great. I don't love it, but I'm okay with it. I think if Edelman's healthy, Sanu wasn't healthy from the time we got him. He had a massive core issue. He had broken ribs the whole time. Edelman was hurt the entire year. He came out and said he needed shoulder surgery. He needed rib corrections. He needed a brace for his knee. He was banged up the entire year. I like Edelman, Sanu, Harry, Myers. I think it's fine. They need to upgrade it later on, but it is fine for now. Because Edelman's gone in a year or two. That's going to hurt. They got to figure out a replacement for him. But Harry looked good when he needed to. He did, and he wasn't healthy. So him being healthy now, with Sanu being healthy and Edelman being healthy, and our offensive line was hurt the whole year. Sony Michel was hurt the whole year. Our receivers were hurt the whole year. We didn't have any tight ends, which we addressed. The offensive line is now healthy. I have faith in them. I don't think they're going to be a top 3-4 offense, but I think they'll be above 50% in the league. I think they'll be right around 12th to 13th in offense, and they'll be in the top 5 in defense, and that's enough to maybe squeak into the playoffs. I think their division got better, that's for sure. I'm not scared of the Jets. I'm not.
No,
Adam Gase is not a good coach. He's just not. He's never been a good coach. He coached Ryan Tannehill, didn't use him right. Tannehill went to the Titans and became one of the best in the league for a season. That says what I think is going to happen in New York.
the only team you should have to worry about is the Jets. I think the Dolphins are up and coming a little bit. You
I
should,
think so too.
they got Devontae Parker, but who I think is the most underrated wide receiver in the NFL. I
would definitely agree with that. Yeah.
think he's very good. Tua Tagovailoa is not going to start yet. Probably got to work on his hip a little bit, I think. I think they're going to start Fitzmagic to start. And they also got Mike Gesicki from Penn State. They didn't get him in the draft year before that. Who's very good. Huge, nice hands. And I think they could give the Patriots a run for their money, really, in maybe 1 out of 2 games for sure. It's gonna be hard for Devontae Parker when he's going up against Stephon Gilmore. I still think he's very underrated.
Yeah,
and
I think
you guys, they have a top 5 defense and a very good offense. They upgraded, and I think Josh Allen could be a dark horse for MVP. And
I completely agree on that. That thing, I've had him predicted like that for a while. He was my favorite in that draft class.
Yeah, I think he's gonna be good with Diggs now. I think Diggs is gonna shine in Buffalo. I think he was kind of shaded behind Adam Thielen a little bit in Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean, back in 2017, that draft. It was the 4 quarterback first round, first 12 picks really. I had Josh Allen as the number 1 quarterback in that class. I had it Allen, Mayfield, Darnold, Rosen, with Rosen being a distant 4th. I didn't hate Rosen. I just thought his decision-making was bad in college, and it transferred. I think teams should still give him a chance. He did have first-round talent, that's for sure. He just might be a bust, and that happens. I mean, it's happened plenty of times. But I love Josh Allen from the beginning. But going back to the Patriots, I mean, they lost Jamie Collins. They lost Kyle Van Noy. But they replaced him with Josh Uche and Anthony Jennings, who are 2 young, controllable, athletic linebackers.
Yeah.
He's probably going to play D-end alongside of Chase Winovich, who was, by Pro Football Focus, one of the highest-rated D-ends when he was on the field. I mean, he was great. We got him in the 3rd or 4th round last year. He played great. He fit Belichick's system to a T. And this defense is going to be fine. They're going to be good. We know that. Like, we know the defense is going to be good. The offense is the only question.
Yeah.
It's the first time without Brady for more than a year. Since what, 2000, 1999. It's been a long time. So we'll see how this goes. But I have faith. I mean, as a Patriots fan and in Bill we trust, and as someone on a podcast talking about sports, in an unbiased look, I still would have faith because the coach is the greatest of all time. The defense is still pretty much the same. They replaced Van Noy and Collins with younger versions of themselves, with more potential than they ever did, because these are first 2-round level guys who got drafted in the third. So I do have, faith in that. But I think a big question now would be, what do you think about Brady leaving, and what do you think about the Buccaneers?
Okay. Tom Brady. I'm gonna tell you, I'm not a Tom Brady hater. I think he did take a big step down last year, in my opinion. They still made the playoffs, but they couldn't get past Tennessee. He's just not the same quarterback. I think it didn't help that he did not have a lot of weapons, that they were all hurt, but that really shouldn't matter, in my opinion, for the GOAT. I don't think he played good at all last year. I think he's taken a step down. I still think he's top 10. A lot of people don't, but and I think he could be pretty good in Tampa Bay with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. I mean, and Gronk. I mean, he's given everything he's got now. He's just got to make it happen. I don't think he's the same quarterback. I don't think he's as talented as he was. I think he's declined. But with these weapons, anything can happen. But I think his arm strength has went down. It's going to be hard. I can't wait to see what's going to happen in Tampa. I don't know if he's going to be able to air it out to Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, who are long ball threats. But they got Gronk, who's his favorite, and I think they're going to make the playoffs. I don't really think they're going to go far, but I do think they're going to make a 6 or 7 seed. I still think Tom Brady is good, but he's not that good anymore. I think he took a big step down. He's really not that good anymore. But I think with these weapons, he could be. Mm-hmm. And he's 23 years old. He needs weapons.
Mm-hmm. We found that out last year for sure. He never really was the guy who needed weapons for a long time, and that's why most people agree he's the GOAT, not just the 6 championships, but I mean never a losing season. And it's other than the 3 years with Moss, his best weapons.
Patriots, that offense was incredible. I mean, Wes Walker and Moss and Gronk and Aaron Hernandez, holy crap.
Well, Gronk and Hernandez weren't there at that point, but I mean, he followed it up with them, and then Hernandez obviously went away for a little bit. But I mean, his best targets before Moss and Welker was Deion Branch, who no one really loved coming out of the draft and stuff like that, and coming out of the whole process. No one really was in love with Deion Branch, and Brady made him look amazing. And I think that's where it all started, was the Brady magic of making guys who aren't that great look amazing. I mean, his 2 best receivers ever for longer periods of time were 2 white slot receivers. And that says a lot. I mean, Welker is the stereotypical slot receiver. I think he's a Hall of Famer because he revolutionized the slot receiving position. I think Edelman is a borderline Hall of Famer because postseason hero multiple times. His postseason resume, he's arguably the best postseason receiver of all time. He's up there, just with the stats he's put up. But beyond that, I mean, Brady in New England was a different monster than most people have ever seen.
Yeah.
When it comes to him in Tampa Bay, he's loaded with weapons. I am extremely happy for him that they got rid of Ronald Jones, basically, by drafting Keyshawn Vaughn. I've never been a Ronald Jones fan. I never will be, really. I don't think he's that good. He just doesn't really shoot off the page as a great running back. But I do love Keyshawn Vaughn out of Vanderbilt. And then he's got probably the best wide receiver pair anyone's seen in a while with Evans and Godwin. I mean, that's a scary pair of wide receivers. And then he's got his best tight end pair since Gronk and Aaron Hernandez in Gronk and O.J. Howard. And solid O-line. I mean, the O-line was bad last year because they didn't have a left tackle, and now they have Tristan Wirfs, who I think is going to be amazing. So I have a lot of faith in them. I think they can win the NFC South. Do I think they will? I don't know. I think they can compete with the Saints because their defense is basically even, and it's just going to depend on who plays the best offense in their games against each other. But they did stack the deck a little bit against the Bucs with their schedule, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, so to end this topic, I'm just going to say I don't think they can win the NFC South. I think that's the Saints. The Saints are a great regular season team. It's just a matter if they can get it done in the playoffs. I think they're going to win that division. I still think overall, as a team, I think the Saints, I think they're better. I think Brady, I don't think Brady's that good anymore, but I still think he can make the playoffs. Jimmy G made the Super Bowl, and he's not good, in my opinion, at all. I really don't think he's that good. So, yeah, I think they can make the playoffs, but I do not see Tom Brady being an MVP. I just don't see it happening. He's just not good enough anymore, okay? He's nowhere near the level as Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson, who got to be the 1-2 for MVP odds. No one else, I don't think could really come close to them. But there's a lot of other people who could come in there, but he'd make the playoffs, just not an MVP.
No, I think we'll see how it goes. I mean, I don't know for sure what's going to happen. We'll see how they meld. I mean, it's all just going to depend on the coaching, I think, at that point. They're pretty even team-wise. I think the better offense overall probably goes to the Bucs, receiving-wise at least. And then running back-wise, it obviously goes to the Saints. And the quarterback play is probably pretty even at this point in their career. Breeze is more accurate. Brady's more big play and clutch, that's for sure. Probably the most clutch quarterback in history. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see how this goes. I think it's a close race for 1 and 2. And if I'm them, I'm not worrying about the Panthers or the Falcons whatsoever. Now pivoting to someone who is probably the most polarizing player in the NFL. Well, not so much anymore. Antonio Brown. Okay. Do you think he's ever going to touch an NFL grass field ever again?
No.
No?
I don't think he's going to. I think there's just something wrong with him. I don't know. It's got to be from the CTE, but he can't keep it together on the and he just can't get along with anyone. Nobody's going to want that on their team. I don't see him coming back anymore after everything that's been going on with his personal life.
I completely agree. People keep saying, charges get dropped, he'll be signed, but I don't think anyone wants to deal with him. Right. I mean, Belichick took the risk, and I think that was like the biggest head coach in the league who does not deal with anybody who gives him crap or gives him issues. He dropped him. And I think that was a message to the rest of the league. It's about time we all just kind of give up on him. He still got the talent. He could totally play as one of the best in the league still. But to deal with him as a locker room presence and a publicity issue, that's where it becomes a problem. And that's where you start losing money. And that's where the business side of football, I think, rears its ugly head. And I can't see anyone taking a risk on him. I wouldn't be that surprised if somebody did, but I don't think it'll last long. I think it'll be a Josh Gordon type situation where he maybe gets 6-7 games in, and then something else happens, or he says something stupid and he's cut.
Yep.
Yeah. So pivoting towards the NBA. It's been shut down mid-season since this whole coronavirus thing started up, which sucks because we're both massive NBA fans. You're a Sixers fan. I'm a Celtics fan. both having very different seasons. The Sixers are extremely talented team who just weren't melding well, and the coach wasn't exactly doing a great job. They weren't exactly playing super well together. They weren't super healthy. The Celtics, while being not so healthy, played really, really well together. Their coach is top two in the league, arguably number one. I think a lot of people do have them at number one now with how the Spurs have been lately. And they were on their way to possibly a one seed. However, it breaks out, more than likely it'll be the Bucks.
It would be, yeah.
Yeah, they would probably be the number two seed. Um, but I think the biggest debate after this whole last dance with the MJ doc, who comes after LeBron in the top players in the league now? Because it was consensus when it was MJ in the league that it was MJ was number one. It is now a consensus with LeBron that he's number one. But who do you have following him? Because that's kind of up in the air, depending on
We're
the year.
talking about you're talking about in the NBA right now?
Yes, right now. Not his career and not
Okay.
in history, but right now.
Okay. If we're talking about right now, I think it's between three players: Kevin Durant, Kawhi, and Giannis. All those three players are absolutely incredible in their own forms. But if I had to take the next best player in the NBA when healthy, I would say Kevin Durant.
I
Um,
completely agree.
I think he is incredible offensively. He is one of the best scorers we've ever seen, along with James Harden in the NBA. I think his height just gives him more leverage, and I think he's incredible. He took down LeBron in the NBA Finals, and his offense and his defense is also very good too. But his offense is incredible. I would say Kevin Durant when he's healthy.
I'm 100% on board with you. I think it's between those three guys. Um, you know this about me. I mean, we were roommates, obviously, which is why we're called the roommate debate. Um, I think I'm not as high on James Harden or Russell Westbrook as everyone else. Um, I mean, they've melded well and they look pretty good together. I don't see them being a winning pair, so I just immediately take them out of the conversation for best in the league. They turn the ball over a lot. They're more stat grabbers than they are big win getters. They don't beat the best teams when they need to. Um, so I take them right out. But I completely agree that it's Durant number two. I would put Kawhi number three personally,
Yeah.
because I think his balance of defense and offense being at both elite levels puts
Anyone
him at number
championship.
three. Exactly. And then I put Giannis at four.
Yeah, that's my top four. And then
Yeah. After that, I think it's up in the air.
I have Steph Curry.
I put Curry five, personally. A lot of people argue with that because he's older and he hasn't been as healthy, but look at him on the court. I mean, he's still got it.
I just think I think Steph Curry at his best, I think he is slightly better than James Harden. It's tough. It's very tough because they're both. James Harden is incredible offensively and defensively, but I think I think Harden's a little bit better than Steph at defense. But I just think at Curry's best, I think overall his offense is just better in terms of shooting and hands, passing. I like Steph overall at his best. I think I would probably take him.
Yeah, I would 100%. I think I have Curry well above Harden. I think after those five, I have Luka a little bit higher than Harden right now. I know a lot of people will disagree with that. I
Wait,
have it mainly
Luka?
for one reason. I have it for one reason. So if you look
Maybe
at
to
the
start
teams they have, if you're starting a franchise, I'm 100% taking Luka over Harden and Curry. I would
Yeah.
have a harder time taking him over Curry by a lot than I
Wait.
would have him
Okay.
taking over Harden.
Wait, you think Luka Doncic is better than James Harden?
I don't know for sure. I think he will be for sure. That I'm 100% certain about. A lot of people will disagree with me on that, but you look at where he's at right now. The Mavs were competing for a top four seed by the midseason in a Western Conference that's loaded. And it's not like the Mavs are loaded. I mean, it's him and Kristaps. Name their third best player. It's Tim Hardaway Jr., Maxi Kleber.
I'm not sure. Wait.
Like, they don't really have that third guy. Whereas the Warriors, it's Steph, Clay, and Draymond. The Rockets, PJ Tucker's probably their third. It was Clint Capella. Now he's gone, but Tucker's still better than what the Mavs have. The Lakers, I mean, Danny Green, is probably better than anybody the Mavs have after, Luka and rehabbing Kristaps Porzingis. Um, but Luka just puts up stats. He wins games. He's clutch. He doesn't turn the ball over a ton. He plays really good defense. He's just an all-around great player, and it's his second year. He's still only 20, I think, as far as I know. And I just see him as one of the future top players in the league.
Right.
Yeah,
I just wanted to make sure you didn't put Luka over James Harden right now, because that would be very bad to say. Because on an offensive standpoint, James Harden is a lot better than Luka. I think offensively, in terms of like scoring and just getting to the rack. James Harden's better than Luka Doncic. We know this, and that's why.
I mean, I'll be honest. I kind of disagree at times. I think when you put the Mavs against the Rockets, it's going to look a bit different. Because personally, if I'm the Rockets, I'm putting Russell Westbrook against Luka, just for the pure tenacity and trash talking and putting him all the young kids and making sure that the young kids is as comfortable as possible on the court. But Luka's game has spoken for itself. The big lights have never scared him, and that's what we didn't see out of James Harden at the beginning. That makes me pretty self-assured that Luka's going to be better than he ever was. I just think right out of the gate. I mean, granted, James Harden had Durant and Westbrook blocking him. I understand that. But Luka came in to a big franchise. Nobody really gives them average credit. Their owner is probably the biggest name owner in the league. I mean, some people have different ideas, but I would say Mark Cuban's the most vocal for sure. And he's the hardest on his players. And he put a lot of faith in Doncic, and basically said, here's the reins with a team that just had arguably the greatest international player of all time with Dirk Nowitzki. So you're the new heir, and take over. And he immediately put himself in the conversation with one of the better players in the league, and just put himself this year in with the elite. And that's where I kind of have a hard time deciding between him and Harden. I would decide probably right now on Harden, but by next year, I'm putting Doncic ahead of Harden, I think. And I think it'll be pretty clear.
You got to give him some time, but I would extremely disagree with that statement. James Harden is an incredible talent. He's an MVP. He got snubbed from his MVP, I think, last year. No, James Harden is a better player. Just if you watch them play, James Harden is better.
I mean, I'm with you right now as we stand in 2020 on that. I think by this time next year, we'll be having different talks about it.
We'll have to see.
I mean, and as evaluators of talent, you and me we're a little bit different. You more evaluate on a yearly basis. I more evaluate on a career basis. And I'm saying that a younger guy who has a year and a half of experience is better than James Harden. And I don't think he's better yet. I think he has the skills to be better than him in the future.
Not offensively. You can't say that offensively. James Harden's arguably one of the greatest offensive players we've seen in a very long time.
I understand that, but he's
arguably better than Kevin Durant offensively, except for the fact that Kevin Durant is bigger. If Kevin Durant was not as big, I would have to give it to Harden offensively. I mean, Harden can fucking he can put 50, put up 50 with his his eyes shut. I mean, come on, James Harden's incredible. I
completely agree with you. I would have no hesitation to really put Harden above him, except for you look at Luka's career already. The lights have never made him back down, and that's where I'm kind of, happier with how Luka's played than I am with Harden, because you have to agree, Luka's more efficient on offense than Harden is. Harden turns the ball over more. He shoots at a less clip. He needs more shots to score more points, plain and simple. Luka scores at a much more efficient level than Harden does. And that's not knocking Harden, because Harden's a great scorer. But there are a lot of guys in the NBA who are lower level players who score much more efficiently than James Harden and Russell Westbrook and those guys do. It's not to knock their talent, because they do still win games while missing shots, because they produce steals on the other end of the floor. But I mean, if you take away Harden's defense and you look at just his offense as an inefficient scorer, who puts up points, gets assists, gets rebounds as a great guard. He is. And you take away Luka's defense, turns the ball over a lot less. He
Mm-hmm.
scores at a much more efficient clip, and you basically replace them with just a decent defender, right? An
Yeah.
even defender. If you look at it that way, and you put their stats next to each other, I would take Luka, because if you give Luka the same amount of shots, he's scoring more points by a lot. You give him the same amount of opportunities to assist, he's getting more assists. He already does, I think, get more rebounds as far as I know. I think he does. I'd have to double check on that, but I'm pretty certain he gets more rebounds than James Harden on a nightly basis. That's where I would look at it as different. But because there is the defense involved, I would take Harden as of now.
All right. Well, I see we got completely different point of views about this.
I think a little bit, yeah. And now switching over to both of our fortes, baseball. We're both something our friends know about us as one of the biggest things they describe us as is diehard baseball fans. You're a huge Phillies fan. I like the Phillies, but I'm a diehard Red Sox fan. We've both had to go through terrible seasons in the past, and some crappy management and crappy situations. But I think neither of us have gone through such a painful time as the Houston Astros are right now. What do you have family in Houston? You've seen these players play. You have more of an affection for these guys than I do. As somebody with a little bit more of a connection to Houston than me, what do you think about the Houston Astros situation right now and how this is going to pan out?
Okay, so I'm a Philadelphia Phillies fan, 100%. But I have family in Houston, and I've been there many times. I've been to the stadium. So if I had to pick, it hurts me to say this, but if I had to pick a second team to root for, it's the Houston Astros, and it's been since the year before they won the World Series. So I'm not just hopping on ever since they won in 2017. What they did was absolutely horrible. I will play it plain out simple. Absolutely horrible. They deserve to get their banner or their trophy taken away. Everything. They cheated to win a World Series. They used trash cans. Plain and simple. What they did was horrible. So if we're looking about this year, I know everyone's going to disagree with me, but I think, in my opinion, they have the talent to still win a championship. They don't need to cheat to win a championship. I don't know why they did. I don't know why they thought they had to. They have the talent to win a championship. I think as far as in terms of how their season's going to go, I personally think they're going to make it back to the ALCS. I think they're going to face the New York Yankees, but I think the Yankees are going to be so mad that, that they've been cheating the past 2 or 3 years that I think the Yankees are going to come on top, but I think they can go as far as still win the AL West and make it to the ALCS. I know it's fair to say that they don't win the division and give it to the A's, but I just think they have so much talent, like Altuve, Correa, Springer, Bregman, Jordan Alvarez. That batting lineup is gross, and it's arguably the best in baseball, besides the New York Yankees and Showtime in LA, Dodgers, with Mookie Betts and Bellinger. That's going to be a movie. I'm really looking forward to seeing how that's going to go.
Very true.
I know not a lot of people are going to agree with me on this, but I still think they have the talent to make it as far as the ALCS. I don't think they're going to make it back to the World Series, and what they did was awful, and they should have their banners revoked, and the rings and everything. They cheated in 2017. We figured that out. It wasn't confirmed in 2018 and this past year when they lost the Nationals, but come on. You really think they're going to stop cheating after not being caught? Come on.
You're not wrong.
They were cheating, I think. But
no, I completely agree.
Yeah.
We both have very different views on how the Astros are going to do this year.
Yeah.
You look at their division, the Astros got worse. when they
They
lost
lost.
Garrett Cole.
They lost Garrett Cole. I really am not disagreeing with you with everything you're about to say. I can definitely see it happening, but just from the talent that they have offensively, and they still have Justin Verlander, who's a little old, but he was a Cy Young, so
Yeah, no, you're not wrong.
I think he's still a top 5 pitcher. I think that whole offense, I think that offense is very good, and I just think they have the talent. Cheating or not cheating, they're talented, and I really think they can make the ALCS. But anything you say here, I can't disagree with you with, because I really think every team is going to be so pissed off with them that they cheated the game that they're going to play them like it's the last game that they have. They're going to go off on them. They're going to go full force, full pedal to the wall. And yeah, I just want to hear what you have to say.
I completely agree with you. They could win the division, and they have a very high chance of doing it. They're still very talented. Their lineup's great. Their pitching's still very solid. But the rest of their division got a lot better. The Athletics are bringing up very, very talented young players in AJ Puck and who's their other? They have AJ Puck coming up. They have multiple relievers who they have in the wings coming up. A few minor league hitters. Their top catching prospect will be brought up, Sean Murphy. I like him. He's very, very talented. I'm a big tape watcher when it comes to baseball. I'm not as big when it comes to football and basketball, but I watch baseball nonstop. So I do a lot of research on these minor leaguers, and Sean Murphy is one of my favorites. So I do like the A's to win the division. I also really like the Angels to win it for the first time in a while. I mean, they have the best player in baseball in Mike Trout. That's something that you can never really go too wrong with when you have the best player in baseball. They have Otani back healthy, and this coronavirus has allowed him a little bit more time to heal. So he'll be back hopefully fully healthy by the time the season rolls around. They added Anthony Rendon, who's an MVP candidate right away, to that lineup and shores up their defense in the infield. They have Albert Pujols. They have Joe Adell. They have Justin Upton. I mean, they're 1 through 5 with a lineup of. They have Andrelton Simmons. I mean, this lineup of more than likely it'll be something along the lines of Joe Adell, Mike Trout, Jose Otani, Rendon, Upton, Pujols, Simmons.
Yeah,
If I'm on the teams, I don't want to pitch to that 7 because you have to pitch to Trout. You have to pitch to the 2-hitter, right? Because you can't just ignore Otani. So you have to pitch to Otani then because you have Rendon behind him, and then you have to pitch to Rendon because you have Justin Upton behind him, who's not a bad hitter. After that, with Pujols, who's still a 250 hitter, and he's going to hit 25 homers if he's healthy, and then you have Andrelton Simmons, who, if he can get back on the train, will hit pretty well and swing the bat well, and he's obviously one of the best defenders in the league. Their pitching is their only question. They added Bundy and Julio Teheran, so we'll see how that goes. I'm hopeful. I liked Bundy coming up from the minors with the Orioles. He had one really, really great season, and then he got hurt again, and he had a pretty decent season last year. It wasn't great. Teheran is the definition of a good 3, great 4. So we'll see how that goes with him, too. They don't really have an ace. I think Bundy could definitely be their ace. We'll see how that goes, though. And the Rangers got better. They added Corey Kluber. That's their big trade. They gave up a little bit for him, so the minor league depth got a little bit depleted, but they still had a pretty decent team last year, and adding Kluber to that rotation with Matt Moore and Lance Lynn, or not Matt Moore, what's his name? Mike Minor and Lance Lynn. That's a pretty damn good 1, 2, 3. And something not a lot of teams want to see when you get to the playoffs.
I don't know how Corey Kluber he kind of fell off very big last year, especially. Well, he did get injured.
Yeah,
he's gonna need to do a lot for me to impress me. I think he kind of took a step down, but no, I can't disagree with you. But if I had to say, I think the Angels have nice 1 through 5, but at most, at best, I think they get third in that division. I think still the Astros are just they're just better than them all around. They got the whole piece, even pitching. They have Justin Verlander and Zach Greinke, who's great. They're both great. It's hard to go against them for the AL West, but I could definitely see the A's also winning it just because the Astros is taking a little bit of a step down because of the whole cheating thing, but
And losing Garrett Cole.
and of course losing the gem Garrett Cole. I can't. I think they're going to make it to the ALCS, but it'll be very interesting. The A's will give them a run for their money, 100%. It'll be tough, but the A's are very good offensively, and they have decent pitching, but they're a very good team, and they'll definitely give them a run for the money. But I'm still going with the Houston Astros.
I mean, like you said, I can't disagree with you. I think the Astros are still name-wise better than most of the teams in that division because they
That's
have
true.
the
That's
balance of
true.
pitching.
Name one,
Um,
yeah.
but I worry still about Bregman falling off without the cheating. I worry about Altuve because Bregman got better when the cheating happened. As a rookie, he was solid, and then as the
Now he's
story
incredible.
cheating started, yeah, and he was amazing, and he was always a good defender, so I was never worried about that being affected. His offense, though, took a massive bump with all the cheating, and that's where I start to worry: is he going to drop off? Is he still going to be solid? Um, George Springer is always kind of a weird hitter. He's always solid. He's never he's always an above average hitter.
Great leadoff
Question
hitter.
is exactly, but the question is he a elite hitter this year or is he an above average like usual?
Yeah, it's
And
really
that's
all
what
about it's all about how are they going to do without banging trash cans. That's basically how
exactly.
this is going to play out. I still think there's some guys on that team who are going to be very good without the banging trash cans. I think the one question was Michael Brantley. I think um, I don't know, he hit really well last year, and I haven't really seen that much out of him, but we'll see.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we going away from the AL West to the East of the league, we have our two favorite teams, both taking huge adjustments. Um, the Red Sox trading away Mookie Betts. Um, he forced their hand, kind of a crappy situation, losing Alex Cora. It's going to hurt. I do think they'll be fine. The annoying thing is Chris Sale's out for the year. They lost David Price, so the pitching is going to be a massive issue. We're going to
You
have to
guys
see
took
how that
such a step
happens.
down. The Red Sox
They did
have
take a
not
massive step
gotten any
down.
better.
Um, but
They got worse. They
they
still
did get
have
worse.
Devers, who's great, and Bogarts, who's great, and Benintendi, who's great,
And JD
and
Martinez.
JD. Um,
Their
that's really
offense is going to take a step back, but it's not going to be as big as everyone's thinking.
it. Yeah,
Verdugo filling in. Verdugo was great last year. He wasn't the same as Mookie Betts. I'm
it's
not going to say that, but he's also younger than Betts. He's got really high upside. He was a top prospect. I'm very, very excited about Alex Verdugo. I'm very excited about Jeter Downs, who we also got back. And I'm extremely excited about Connor Wong, who was the catcher that not a lot of people realize we got back in that trade too, who in spring training looked great. He hit a
yeah.
couple of tape measure home runs off of major leaguers. Um, and we have a great catcher. Christian Vasquez is one of the best catchers in the league, in my opinion. I have him at number 5. I think there are some people who put him lower, but my logic is how he played last year. He's a Gold Glove level defender who hits above average, and that's extremely valuable at the catcher spot. Guys like Yadier Molina have made a Hall of Fame career off being an above average hitter with an elite level glove. Um, I have Mitch Garver ahead of him, of course. I have JT Realmuto ahead of him, of course. I have Yasmani Grandal. Those are the 3 that I definitely have ahead of him.
Wilson
The few that are
Contreras.
in that, exactly. Wilson Contreras is he's a bit of an anomaly and a bit of an enigma, quite honestly, because he mixes really well with that lineup, but on certain days he just looks clueless. Like, I mean, we've both had him on our fantasy teams in the past. Like,
Yeah,
he'll come out with a -8 game out of nowhere, where he'll go literally 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts. And in a few of our leagues, we've done errors are minus points, and he's just had like 2 throwing errors and a pass ball in that game, and he just looks like he's a completely different player. And he'll do that for months at a time. He's kind of like Bryce Harper in that effect, where Harper gets scorching hot for a while, and then all of a sudden just becomes one of the least effective outfielders in the league for a month or two there. And he just looks confusing because he's so talented, but he doesn't really look like he's worth as much as people say. And that's where I have trouble putting Contreras as a top 5 automatically. Um, and that's where I don't put Gary Sanchez in the top 5. I'm going to say that right now. I have Sanchez at 6. I have Vasquez is better than Sanchez, and a lot of people are going to disagree. It sounds biased because I'm a Red Sox fan. Sanchez can't play defense. People say
No, but his offense is
he's
better than Vasquez. He's got pop. He really
but it
does.
depends.
He
He
can hit
has
the
the pop,
ball
but he can't hit for average.
hard and far.
But
No,
he
he doesn't
can't
hit
hit
for
for
average,
the
but he
average.
hits ribbies and he
Exactly.
hits bombs.
He
And
does, and I think that's partly a part because of his lineup is stacked. I mean, I'm a Red Sox fan, and I hate to say it,
yeah.
but the Yankees lineup is amazing, and Vasquez is hitting 5th on the Red Sox, but Sanchez has guys behind him who people are terrified of. Who like Vasquez last year didn't really have anybody batting behind him that people were saying we can't pitch to, so they'd throw to him, or they wouldn't throw to him. They'd pitch around him. He'd strike out a little bit more, and he still hit 290 while not being thrown straight fastballs. He'd be throwing him curves and sliders and trying to get him out that way. Whereas guys like Sanchez are getting fastballs down the pipe a lot because they know he'll strike out a lot. And there's guys behind him like Gleyber Torres at times last year who they're much more afraid of as an on-base threat than they are of Gary Sanchez. And that's why I put Contreras at 4, which I had a little bit of a hard time doing. Vasquez at 5 and Sanchez at 6. And then after that, it's a real big toss-up.
Hmm.
I tend to still put Yachty at 7 and then Posey at 8. And it's hard for me to put Posey so low, but I don't consider Posey as much of a catcher anymore. I feel like his move to first base is inevitable. They have Joey Bart, who they just drafted a couple years ago, who's a really, really high-level catcher, who I think will take his spot. So that's where I end up putting all that. What do you think about the Phillies, though, with Girardi coming in for who I think was a terrible manager in Gabe Kapler, and I feel terrible for the San Francisco Giants who decided to hire him thinking they got a steal. But in my opinion, he was terrible. So what do you think about the Phillies now, though?
Yeah. So just to wrap up this episode for tonight, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be a tough race. We're in a very tough division. I think we're in the best division, actually. It's either us
I
or you guys.
I completely agree. I think the East is the two stacked
East,
divisions.
East in MLB. That's what it is. Those are the toughest. I think it's gonna be tough to make the playoffs for us. I think we're talented. I think we're again just like you guys. Our pitching struggles, except we actually have like a number one. No offense, you guys don't anymore. I
We
mean,
do when we're healthy. Sale, when he's healthy, is fine.
when you're
He
healthy,
hasn't been
but
healthy the last 2 years, though.
he's not healthy, and you lost Price. But I think we need to upgrade on pitching. I like our offense a lot. I like Gene Segura. I think DD's pretty good. He strikes out a lot, but I think he's a pretty good addition. Harper and then Kutch. I think our hitting is going to be fine, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure anybody in baseball and anybody who follows would agree. Our hitting is good. It's just
Mm-hmm.
the pitching and the atrocious bullpen that we have.
And the defense has been a bit of an issue lately. I think
Yeah.
that gets fixed by Kingery taking
I
over
didn't
at
even
third.
say I like Kingery, and JT Realmuto is the best catcher in the league.
Yeah.
And he's incredible. But I think it's gonna be tough because you got the Atlanta Braves who are gonna win the division. I think great
Mm-hmm.
regular season team. Need to figure it out in the postseason. It's tough especially now since if baseball happened, they would have to face the Dodgers. And I think the Nationals, they lost Rendon, but they still have the best pitching rotation in baseball in my eyes with Scherzer and Strasburg and Corbin at number 3. Oh my God, that's incredible.
No, I
And
agree.
it's gonna be really tough to face them. So
It
I think
is.
it's gonna be tough for us to make the playoffs. And it's definitely gonna be tough for you guys to make the playoffs too. You got to go up against the Yankees and the Rays, who are better teams than you guys now. And honestly, it's tough for us too. And we still got to go up against the Mets, who were better than us last year.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't count out the Mets pitching rotation either.
I know the Mets
I
have
mean,
probably the
look at their
second best
rotation.
pitching rotation. Well,
They
Syndergaard can't
arguably,
stay healthy.
if Syndergaard's healthy, they arguably have the number one. And I do it like this: they have more depth than the
I can't give them the number
Nationals.
one. I have to give it to the Nationals. They have
I would probably put the Nationals one with you too. If we're talking pure depth from a full rotation, I'm saying the Mets because they do have a legit number 4 with Steven Matz. Whereas Anibal Sanchez is a solid 4, but I don't buy his last season.
Mhm.
But I mean, if you look at both teams, they both arguably have 3 number 1 pitchers, which is something a team in the playoffs never wants to see. You want to be able to have that second game or that third game where it's a break from just seeing great pitch after great pitch, and you're just not going to get that. So you're going to have to scrounge out wins against them, and that's how the Nationals did it in the playoffs. I mean, their hitting took a big leap in that playoff series, but I mean, their pitching was just so hard to deal with when you would bring in Daniel Hudson and those 3 at the beginning. I mean, that was something as a pitcher for me. I love watching pitching because I'm a pitcher. It's something I've absolutely loved from the time I started playing baseball and watching them this postseason. I've never been a big National supporter, but I loved seeing just pitching dominate for that whole series.
Totally.
Yeah. So we'll leave with this. Who do you think is your MVP winner from the AL and the NL?
Well, wait, am I projecting? Like, who
Yes.
do I think?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, AL MVP, Mike Trout,
Yeah, I'm with you.
arguably the GOAT. So, and he's just, if he's on the field, he's the best player. I'm not going up again. I'm not saying anyone. That would be disrespectful. NL, it's really tough to say. Wow. The NL, I would say it's between Christian Yelich is very, very good. Cody Bellinger, very, very good. It's hard to say. Mookie Betts, also he's incredible. I think a guy who I think is incredible and who hasn't won an MVP yet, Nolan Arenado.
I couldn't agree more.
I really think I want to give him. I think he could win the MVP, but it's gonna be tough because he's going up against Bellinger and Christian Yelich. But I would like to. I think I'm going Arenado. I'm going, someone who hasn't won it and who's incredible and the best at their position. So I'm saying Trout and Arenado.
Okay, I like it. AL, I'm agreeing. Trout, 100%. If he's on the field, he's winning it. He hasn't finished lower than 4 in his career, and that was only once that he finished 4. He's finished 1 or 2 every other time, which is something that I don't know if we'll see after him. I mean, that's amazing. NL, I think it's going to stay in the NL East. I think it's going to be either Juan Soto, Ronald Acuna Jr., or Pete Alonso. I think if Pete Alonso can get his average up and hit the same way and play the same defense, I think he's going to be right there in the voting. If Acuna just has the same season, he's right there in the voting automatically if they win the division. And Juan Soto, I mean, he just keeps getting better. And
he's incredible.
I mean, people were saying Bryce Harper's gone. What are they going to do? Juan Soto stepped in and was better than Harper's been for them and did it with a leadership quality that Harper couldn't really give. Harper is something that he's very good at is firing people up sometimes. He's just not very good at being a team player a lot of times. And he's very talented at putting himself ahead of people. Whereas Soto, in every interview, he's talking about he acknowledges how good he thinks he is, but he also says how he wouldn't be there without the faith in his team, without the players, without the guys behind him. We're yet to see what he does without Rendon in that lineup, but I have no worries that he's going to be good.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I guess we'll wrap up the episode here. Thanks for everybody for listening. Me and Joey are really excited to start this. We'll be doing 2 a week. We'll be recording on Wednesdays and Sundays. So they'll either be out Wednesday nights and Sunday nights or Thursday morning and Monday morning. We're still figuring it out for sure. But check out our Instagram account at DM_sports talk. And thank you for listening to the Roommate Debate Sports podcast on DM Sports Talk Network.
All right. Thanks, everyone.